Welcome back to the Lords of Lore Podcast Network. This is an episode of Unabashed where I have a guest on and we talk about something they love and they go off about it. And I'm happy to introduce Joe. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
If you guys caught this Tuesday's episode where we're breaking down classes in D&D, if you haven't checked that out, and obviously next week we're going to be doing the next class in the lineup. I don't know when this episode's coming out. I can't use my brain right now, so check out for our show on Tuesdays. This show comes out every other Friday, usually. But yeah, Joe, you brought to us today My Hero Academia.
Yes.
And so before we get into that, I usually like to tell people how I know the guest. And we met through some mutual friends.
Yeah.
We'd gone out a couple of times before and hit it off, but really when we became closer was you came over. A mutual friend had brought you over and you came down to my basement here and saw all my nerdy shit dotting the walls.
Yeah,
and you were like, dude, I didn't know you were like this.
Yeah, I met you, I think we went for maybe Shisha the first time I met you, and then we kind of hung out a few times here and there. But then that first time I went to your place, I was like, oh, I gotta fucking talk to this guy about some shit. I saw the collection.
Yeah, and then you're showing me like pictures of your collection and stuff. And then I remember even when you're like on the trip to Japan, you're like, yo, do you want this? All these like collectible things. It's awesome. But yeah, so we've obviously established you're a nerdy guy, but how would you describe yourself outside of nerddom?
Oh, I mean, I'm pretty outgoing type of dude. I'm usually like, I don't know, I grew up in a family that's very talkative, but like I'd be talked over a lot, so I kind of had to stick my voice in there. It made me a very outgoing person over time, just makes me very able to talk to people. So normally I vibe with people, very mellow, talk about life and shit, until I kind of find a little insert, be like, you watch anime or you play video games? And then that starts it starts the whole backlog of everything.
What do you have, like older siblings?
Yeah, so I have a half sister, half brother, and a regular full brother. And I don't know, like I'm Spanish, I'm Latino background. So my parents are foreign, they came here, and whenever we hung out with people when I was younger, it was my family. So they were all just like super loud Latinos. So I kind of just sat there in the corner watching on. Can I get a word in?
Yeah, no, I have two older sisters, so I know the struggle. Even still to this day, I'm like, should I? Okay, it's fine.
Okay, cool.
That's why I do this podcast for none of my family members can interrupt me.
You can actually have your voice here.
Yeah. We're gonna dive into the elevator pitch. So as viewers, you will know this is where you pretend I'm on an elevator and you're trying to sell me on the idea of My Hero Academia.
Okay.
So you're trying to get me to stay in the elevator or at least leave with a good impression. So go ahead. How would you describe or pitch this show to me?
Well, okay. You've seen Avengers. You've seen all these other superhero things. They're great. But what if the world kind of like moved along fast enough over time that everyone started to get their own like superpowers, right? And to the point where like if your mom had power and your dad had power and you were born, you have a combination of their powers. And it's become to this point where there's agencies instead of like polices. There's still police, but there's actual hero agencies that, you know, are for hire to do protection, to take over cities, make sure they're good and whatnot. And the main character happens to be a kid in this population that everyone's superpower that's born without a superpower. So you're like, oh shit, okay, this poor kid.
Yeah.
Right. But then he ends up being like the number one superhero of Japan at the time. And, you know, he idolizes him. This kid wanted to be a hero since he was a child, but he meets him and finds out, oh, this guy's losing his power. Like he's slowly decreasing and not going to be able to protect all of Japan over time. And he finds out through his hero that he can pass this power on.
Oh,
but it's a very strong power.
Okay.
To the point where once our main character does start to try using it, he literally destroys his arm and legs immediately with the power.
Oh my god. Holy.
So the first season is him getting this power, and when he tries to using it, he can only use 1% of it, and it breaks his fingers every time he uses it. And that's the only way he can use it, because he can't actually control how strong it is. So he's inching himself up. And you watch as these kids in the superhero society go to a school that helps train future heroes.
Okay.
So that's what he wants to do. So he goes to the school, and it's a high school. So it's kind of like your high school drama-ish slash I'm gonna fight some fools and beat the shit out of them and then break my body at the same time.
So how far along is the show in its?
The show is pretty far. Well, it's 5 seasons in now, so he's like about to wrap up like close to his first year, I guess, like of high school. So I'd say like
just the first year. Okay.
Yeah, in 5 seasons, but it's because a lot of shit has happened.
Right.
That's pushed his progression of school back a lot. And you see as like he develops the power and then ends up going to take like shadowing actual heroes and basically going as their intern and becoming like learning stuff from pro heroes and whatnot. It's pretty cool. And this guy,
doing hero practicums.
Exactly. Awesome. That's exactly what it is. It's hero practicums, and it's basically to help train these young heroes on like how to use your power properly and how you could easily kill someone with these powers too, if not use like you think of it, oh, I have this cool power, whatever. Like I can just kind of jump buildings and whatnot, but it's like you could also run into someone and demolish them.
Yeah, like what's that show? The Boys.
The Boys, the Boys intro does that. Yeah.
So okay, what would be the thing though that separates this? Because just from the pitch, I'm feeling like Naruto vibes in that this is a world full of powerful people, and there's some people who don't have powers. But what's like the ratio of people with powers to not, and what sets it apart from other shows that have that same structure?
Yeah, I believe at the beginning it says 20% of the population doesn't have powers, and the rest of the 80 do have some type of power, whether that be like something minimal as like I can create sparks to I can literally create a lightning storm as I want to.
Wow.
So like one guy, he's this guy right here. His mom sweats nitroglycerin, and you find out his dad can create sparks. And then, these are kind of minimal quirks. They suck.
Okay.
And they're called quirks instead of powers. So sorry if I refer them as quirks.
No, that's fine.
But they're pretty like meh quirks. But then combined into this guy is he sweats enough nitroglycerin that he can make them into huge ass explosions. And he learns to like combine them to make like AP rounds and flashbangs. And like he uses it to maneuver in midair using explosions out of his palms. It's pretty sick.
Damn,
so some people are more powered than others.
Seems like such an easy way to write powers as like the writers of the show to be like, okay, his mom had nitroglycerin and we need a guy with explosions. So just separate.
Just how do we get to that point?
And so what would you say separates it from other shows where you have that sort of powerful society?
Well, it's like I said, it's like a progressive society. So these people are already used to missing the train because there's a villain blowing up the station or whatever, and they're like, oh shit, I'm gonna be late for work again, sorry. Instead of like, oh, our city's under attack, it's like it's a common fucking occurrence. But then it gets progressive with like terrorist groups and like actual people who are all powerful. Like the big bad, you kind of learn about him early on, is this guy who can take powers away and use them for himself, and he can make you normal. But
that's like the guy from Heroes. Have you ever seen that show?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like Skylar, cool. Basically.
Yeah.
But he can take powers away and use them for himself, but he can also put them back into people who already have powers.
To other people.
Yeah, and make them like crazy, like all powerful individuals too. So you see this weird combination of powers you wouldn't think of, like a chick who can make this is semi-spoilery, but no reference to what, but like a girl who can make a gun out of her arm, but she gets the ability to walk in air, to airwalk, so she can go like super high above buildings and snipe people like head down. So you see this weird combination, and it's a lot of these powers that you wouldn't ever think of. Like you hear of like common fire power and common ice people, right? Like Iceman, whatever. But like this guy here, his dad forced his mom into a marriage and made him so he could be like the ultimate hero. And he's half fire, half cold. So that's why his hair is like split like that. And he uses the fire on one side and he cools himself with the ice, and vice versa. If he ever gets too cold, he uses the fire. So it's like learning these crazy combinations, and you see all kinds of weird shit, like stuff you wouldn't think of normally.
Yeah, it's sort of like all the reference material's already there in like comic books and like
Exactly.
Marvel movies, all that stuff. You just
It's like,
yeah, what if that was all at
exactly.
once?
What if we
Yeah.
took like all those crazy powers and made them like generations passed down? Like how the fuck would
Yeah.
that evolve, right?
Yeah, man, it honestly sounds like a dystopia. Like if
Yeah.
you're just a regular person, just going to your accounting job and like, oh, villain blew up the train, like
Like, ah, shit,
guess I'll
I'm
ride my
calling
bike.
work. Yeah, exactly. Or it's like, well, time to go to work. Let me spring wheels out my feet and rollerblade to work.
Yeah,
Like,
that's just normal.
yeah.
So you're obviously like a fan. You and I have talked about like Naruto and stuff like that before.
Mhm.
So you're a fan of anime, but when did like your anime fandom start? And then did you get into the show right when it came out, or the manga, or like is there a manga for the show?
There is a manga, yes.
Okay.
So I started watching anime when I was like, Jesus, I want to say maybe like 8 or 9. And I
Okay.
started with like the classic Death Note. Like I saw it somewhere
wow.
on like Adult Swim or something. And I was very young and I was like, oh my God, this is so dark. I love this. So I got into that. And at the same time, I was watching Naruto every so often because Naruto always played in like Adult Swim, maybe around like 9 or 8ish, right before it was bedtime for me. So I'd always watch that. I'm like, I want to be a ninja. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So that's how I initially started watching anime. And then I had a cousin kind of pitch me Full Metal Alchemist, which is another pretty heavy anime if you have never watched that. But yeah, so I watched all of that like a very young, ripe age.
Yeah,
Watched the
that is-
original, and then they came out with that Brotherhood, which is 10 times better. So those are the 3 biggies that got me started into watching anime. As for My Hero here, it started well the anime because it came out in like 2016, and I saw it on like the Crunchyroll app. I have a friend who has let me his account. So
Yeah, that's how it is,
yeah,
I
it's
watched every episode of Naruto on somebody else's Crunchyroll.
hell
account.
yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. I mean, it literally doesn't have a stop on how many devices. So yeah,
It was someone I didn't know from like 3 provinces over.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
No, I got lucky. I have my brother's older. My brother's like 5 years older than me. His friend knew I liked anime a lot more than my brother, and he liked anime, so he'd always like talk to me and be like, "Hey man, you should blah blah watch this." So he lent me his Crunchyroll, and one day like My Hero popped up on like the top of it. So I was like, "Okay, cool. It's like superheroes. I'll give it a watch." And at that point, it was like 4 episodes into that first season, so I caught it like right off the start, basically. And I watched those. And I was like, this show is pretty good. Like, I need to keep watching this shit. And like, literally, I watched those 4 episodes, and then I ended up going to like a party. And this is like 2016 or something. And I went to this party, and my brother's friends there, and like I'm playing beer pong with him, and he's like, "Have you watched My Hero?" I'm like, "Dude, I just started. It's so good." He's like, "Dude, it's gonna be the next big thing. It's gonna be the next big thing." And it got really big in those first like 3 years it came out. It was like huge. So that got me on the ball train there.
Yeah, that's what I heard everybody saying about it as well. Like when it came out, this is the next Naruto. Like it's the next big thing. I still haven't seen it.
Oh, buddy, you're missing out. You're killing me here. But yeah, it got really big those first few years it came out. It was massive.
So I know most people, especially most people who've come on the show so far, their introduction to anime is always like Dragon Ball, which was mine as well. Were you into Dragon Ball at all?
So I started Dragon Ball at a very young age too with my brother. I watched it here and there because my brother would watch it. But we like at my house didn't have cable when I was really young. So it was like if we got lucky, it came on to like random channels we had.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually watch a lot of Dragon Ball at a young age. Like I would say Dragon Ball was the first anime I watched episodes of, but it wasn't the anime that got me into it. Actually watching anime.
You like the dark stuff. Because those the ones you mentioned, like especially like Full Metal Alchemist, like I watched that like when I was an adult already. And even I was like, holy shit. Like
man, if I could switch this to Full Metal too, I love Full Metal too. I'm obsessed. But that's fucking dark, dude. Like genocide, race wars, and shit. Like it's just that's a dark one.
Chimeras, like
But that's what like unfortunately that stopped me from watching like lighter anime. Like the intro to Fairy Tail and like the first few seasons of One Piece like are very hard to watch because they're a little bit on the lighter end until you get a little more deeper into the shows. And I couldn't like get myself through those first like seasons of it. I'm like, this is too happy for me. Did
you find the same sort of issues with Naruto the first couple seasons?
the thing with Naruto is, like I said, I would watch that every so often, and I had obsession with ninjas when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, it was like amazing, and I didn't start watching Naruto until like the episodes I caught were like the Chunin exam, where they're
Oh
like
wow, yeah.
beating the shit out of each other. So
Those were
I
the
was
first
like,
ones I saw too, but it was like remember Shonen Jump,
mhm,
like the big thick
yeah, the
like
big book,
paperbacks.
yeah.
It was the Chunin exam, and like this dude was like licking blood off a knife, and I'm trying to like read Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm like, yo, what the
What the
fuck?
hell's going on?
Yeah,
Fucking watching
crazy.
Orochimaru's like tongue wrap
Yeah,
around shit.
yeah, so uncomfortable. Um, so yeah, so what is the thing though? Like obviously like the power and the society is pretty cool, like to be the advancement of like a race with like superpowers and stuff like that. But what are some other things you actually like love about this property specifically?
So I like young shonen type animes, like fighting, like of course we already stated Mel Naruto. It's great to me, but like this one goes through your like standard almost like slice of life in a sense where it's like you're not just some kid thrown into chaos. It's like he's just a high schooler.
Yeah.
He's just like you meet when you start the season. He's just a junior high student, and this guy is like his bully, and he's beating the shit out of him because he's like knows that he doesn't have a power or anything. And you watch this kid who goes from like literally having nothing to like slowly earning this power and then just like trying to beat the shit out of people and not being able to control it. But I
Right.
don't know, something about like that high school um like dynamic kind of worked for me. I'm normally not a fan of it, but it's a nice change of pace and it works well. And you see like a lot of our characters and the world building they've done for this show, and it's really well done and introduced well because you're not just like, oh shit, okay, those people are dead or whatever. No, it like gives everyone a proper backstory so you kind of see where they're coming from. And
Mhm.
if you see like the picture of the full like classroom that he's in high school, like, there's an ongoing joke in the community that's like spot the main character because everyone's got like sick ass gear and
Yeah.
suits and crazy powers and shit, and you like everyone is given decent enough time to develop these other characters where you're not just like, oh, he got shoehorned in or anything. Like
Yeah.
everyone's actually enjoyable to learn, and the whole dynamic of it. And you find out that number one hero is becoming a teacher at that school too. So you see him trying to teach him at
Oh,
school.
is that the big blue dude with
Yeah,
the
All Might.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
the big long hair. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
And you see like whenever he's not in big muscle form, he's got this skinny, beat down, rough form that looks like a crack addict, basically.
Oh my gosh.
And he like that's how people don't realize that that's him. So he'll like walk around and no one knows that's him until
Oh,
he like turns into like a big muscly form.
he's got like a Hulk type of yeah.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So it's kind of funny, and you see like him just constantly like spewing out blood because he's losing his powers, and he took like a pretty bad injury that's just set him back. So
Oh,
that's why he's at the school to begin with to find
right.
a predecessor, and then he just happened to find our main character right before the school.
Oh, so it's sort of like a Captain America, like I'll give you the power because you have none, so that way you won't abuse it, type of thing.
Exactly, because he knows like he comes from like humble beginnings. He doesn't have power. He's not a douchey kid, and you find out that this Captain America character, All Might, didn't have powers when he was younger either.
Oh wow.
So he developed that power and got so good with it and became so well known that he became like that number one hero spot like everyone looks up to. But in reality, he's someone without powers normally either. And he was lucky enough to be blessed by his master who gave him the power.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I wanted to ask though, like the Captain America thing, I've always sort of struggled with that rationale. Like giving the powers to the person who's never had them because they won't abuse them. I've always thought that was like irresponsible.
Right.
What do you think? Like, I always think it's going to be the like sort of like, you know, when kids are sort of like very sheltered by their parents.
Yeah.
They become of legal age and then just
They're
like they go off the
douches.
rails for a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. That's how I always think it's going to play out. But then with Captain America, it's like, oh no, he just stayed a really good guy. I'm like, yeah,
no.
Cap.
Well, here, like they did a good job. So like, let me summarize like first two episodes ish. So basically, he meets this character. He meets the number one hero, and this guy's like, "Don't tell anyone, but I am losing my powers." Yeah. But and he asks him, he's like, "Do you think me, as someone without powers, can become a hero?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "You're better off going to become a police officer because there's nothing you can do for yourself there." And you're just left like, wow, that's a shot in the foot. Like your number one hero just telling you to fuck off, basically. And there's nothing you can do. And then a incident occurs where Blondie here basically gets caught by a villain and is like surrounded by a bunch of heroes, but there's a bunch of fire and shit, and they can't get to him. And even though he's this character's bully, main character right here's bully, he sees this happening and he's like scared for him. And without thinking about it, he runs in to like go grab him and pull him away from this villain while everyone's getting like pulled out buildings. And, there's all these people trying to save everyone else in the vicinity. And he still like sacrifices himself to go and try. And he actually does a decent job to start like distracting the villain and pull this character out. And right when he's about to pull him out, the villain pulls him back in, both of them, and they're about to like get caught and choked out to death, basically. And so the number one hero sees this and he comes in and basically saves their lives, but realizes that this kid's not just, I want power for being me. He's like, no, he actually genuinely wants to save lives. And their main topic they like to say that makes a hero is someone who runs into battle without thinking, selflessly, like without thinking about, will always take that first step in. And that's what this kid does, right? So he's like, no, I think you can be a hero. So he doesn't just give it to him initially, he does train him for a bit and make him like work up his body so that he's strong enough to take on the power. And then even after he's done that for like months, he gets that power and he fucking destroys his legs. It's a pretty funny scene. It's like in the first 2-3 episodes, but yeah, you should watch him just demolish everything in his whole body, and he's floating from midair like, shit, now what?
Oh, he can fly too.
Well, no, he can't. He just jumps hard enough with the power that it sends him flying into air. And he punches the villain, and with that arm he punches, just immediately breaks the whole arm and like his legs with the jump. And since he jumped so high up to do this, he's just falling to the ground with one arm, just trying to be like, now what? So, don't want to spoil much after that, but yeah, it's pretty funny. The first few episodes definitely give you a good way of introducing you to this character in the world. They're like, okay, these guys are actually pretty likable, and this is why he chose him. So
yeah, I think that's a cool question to ask too. And like, when the whole world is filled with super powered people, it's still you still need to have heroes, right? Mm-hmm. Not everyone with powers is going to be a hero, even if they're on like the right side or something. Like a hero is a type of person, not based off their abilities type of thing.
Exactly. It's like it's based off of your heart and like what you want to actually accomplish in life to save people, or just to look good, or or if you just want to use it for bad or whatever,
or celebrity type of thing.
Exactly. And there is, like, you see that in the first episode, you see people who are just like using their powers to save people from minimal accidents just so they can get like coverage and blow up as a hero and get like paid more. It's pretty funny.
I play in actually this it's sort of like a D&D game, but it's basically like this. There's no like schools or anything for heroes, but it's basically like you play as teenage heroes in a city full of like adult heroes. You're like the Young Justice League type of thing.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, it's a really fun. I think you'd love it a lot. But you were talking a little bit about like the rotating cast of characters. Do you find yourself you relate more to one more so than the main character, or any of them that sort of might jump in from time to time? Is there anyone that really sticks out to you?
I mean, there's a few characters that are really good. I definitely like this main cast of 3 dudes here. The picture I have in the background here is from the movie that's coming up, and they, in the manga, over time become like the main 3 squad. Okay. But these guys, they have really deep backstories, and I wouldn't say I feel like connected to them one for one. Like my life is exactly like that. But there's definitely issues about like how like the main character's mom thought he was just kind of like not able to go on to the world on his own, and like my mom even moving out here was like scared for me, and she's like, do you know what you're doing, whatnot? But, like you see like families go through shit too, because you don't think about superheroes normally. You think about like, oh, it's just this one person, but you don't think about like, no, they have families they have to go home to every day.
Like his parents don't have powers, right?
Well, that's the sad part. His parents do have powers. Okay. But he was born without one still.
Oh, I see.
But they have very like, his mom can make things float, and his dad can breathe a little bit of fire, but not a lot.
But they're not like superheroes.
No, not at all. They're just normal people for the most part. So like he's been sheltered by his mom a lot when he was younger. So and like he was like telling his mom he wanted to be a hero, and she's like, it's okay, you'll be fine, but wouldn't ever tell him like that encouragement like to go out and become a hero, because she just wanted to keep him safe. And then even like this guy here, Icy Hot, the hot and cold dude. Like,
Icy Hot.
you
Is that his
find out,
actual name?
that's his nickname. A lot of people
Okay,
call him
yeah,
Icy Hot in the
yeah.
show, but
Like Shaquille
um,
O'Neal.
exactly.
Yeah,
Well, he's literally half ice,
yeah, yeah.
half flame. But like you find out his dad's like the number 2 hero, and forced his mom into a quirk marriage basically so that they would produce better offspring. But there's like
Yeah.
no love there whatsoever.
Ah, I see.
And you find out he's got like other siblings that he had before him that weren't perfect.
Oh, so there's
So
like resentment between all the
exactly,
siblings.
it's like
Oh
not
man.
even the siblings know that he got pushed harder, but he never
Yeah.
got the chance as a kid to play with his siblings or do anything. And when
Uh,
his dad finally had him, as soon as he could walk, he basically trained him to be like, this super like strong superhero and be able to use his powers at full capacity, even at a young age where he had no clue what the hell he wanted to do in life. He was like forced into being a hero
oh
basically.
yeah.
So
Reminds me of like Gara.
yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
it's very similar. You find and fuck this guy. There's so many jokes in the community about how he's kind of like Zuko in a sense from Avatar, because he's got a
Yeah.
scar on his eye that his mom gave him too.
Oh
Because
no way.
his one side looks like his dad. It's the red side. He's got blue eye and like red hair, but his normal or white side's a brown eye, which is from his mom. And his mom like turned around one time and saw him like in the kitchen. She was boiling water and didn't realize like it was like not his dad, and just
Oh,
like
I see.
immediately splashed hot water onto his face and like burnt out the side of his eye. It's all red on one side.
Oh man.
So yeah, it's pretty gnarly. You find out like he's got a really rough path, and there's a reason why he like when you first meet him, he wants to be better than the main character, since the main character gets a lot of love from the number 1 hero, and how his dad is the number 2 hero instead.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth and backstory to a lot of these characters, and you're just like even though it's not personally me, it's like I can understand why this person is like this, like how they have that personality trait, or why they think in certain ways, because they do a lot of world building, like I said before, that it makes you understand everyone and how they became their angsty teenager selves that they are in the show.
I think I think for me, like I'm not really into that slice of life high school anime, but anytime there is an anime that deals with that sort of age range, I'm always like, yeah, I was an asshole too. And I was like,
yeah. And like,
but sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, it's not too slice of life. It gives you that idea of like you are going like this high school character going to school. But man, there's so much shit that happens in this show that like it takes you away from that slice of life and goes like head deep into shonen, and you're like, this animation's amazing. Like these fights are amazing.
What about the third character behind you there? He's the nitroglycerin spark guy.
Blondie? Yeah. Well, he's just a douchebag because it's basically what you were saying. These kids who were sheltered by their parents, and he found out at a young age, like 6, that he had this cool explosion power. So he was basically like, you see a flashback of when they were in kindergarten. He's like able to make explosions out of his hand, sparks. So like when he was young, everyone's like, "Oh, you're going to be an amazing superhero one day. That's going to be amazing quirk." And he just like all to his head ego expansion. And he's like, "I will be a good superhero. I'm going to be the best superhero." And he just became like a total douchebag and like let his friends down like this shitty, like, we're going to be the best type of shit. And that's why he always clowned on the main character, because he's like, you got nothing. You don't have a power. And he's like, I have something that's gifted to me. Yeah. So it's kind of like, you kind of see where he became a dickhead.
And I mean, I still feel for characters like that, though, like not in my life. Like when you're that age and you're dealing with a person like that, you can't see it from the outside perspective.
Exactly.
It's like, man, this guy's an asshole. But when you look at it like as an adult, you're like, okay, so this guy's had a lot of pressure put on him from his life, and like, he's sort of insecure about it, so he's taking it out on like other kids.
Exactly. And that's totally it. Like he just wants to take it out on everyone else. And there's even where we are now in the anime, you're starting to see like the other side of the coin of him being an actual human being and not being an asshole.
Right.
And like how he can actually like how he wants to be a hero, but instead of being like, I'm gonna win and I'm gonna demolish these people, to like, I need to save these people more than win. Right. And you see like the actual humanity come out in him, and it's really good because the manga's been past that forever, but seeing it like adapted to the anime, it's just like, oh, so good. Chef's kiss.
So have you read the manga? Like, are you caught up on the manga?
Oh yeah, I'm caught up. A few years ago, I want to say maybe like right before 3rd season or something, I was looking at memes of the anime, and then I saw like a chapter, like a 1-page snippet from the manga that was like, this shit going down right now. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah,
I gotta know this shit. So I
Yeah.
immediately started reading it all, and I caught up, and I've been reading it since.
that was like me with Attack on Titan. Like,
Mhm.
what I think it was like the first season had been released, and I had to know what was going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
You like
so I
need
read
to know
like,
more.
Yeah. Um, so I lost my train of thought. I got so deep into, but yeah, no, I kind of like when they sort of bring the humanity to those characters. But
Mhm.
do you think the manga is, or sorry, the anime is like a faithful adaptation of the manga?
Oh yeah, like they've been doing everything one for one for the most part. Like
Okay.
there's been few like with every anime. It's unfortunately after 5 seasons, it's gone from like 2 studios now. I think maybe on a third one. I'm not
Okay.
too sure, but I know when they went to that second studio, there was some things that people were questioning a lot, and they were like, "I don't, why they animate it like that?" And like, or why is it done like that? And unfortunately, some of these people don't read the manga, so there's little scenes where they do like certain cuts and whatnot, and it's in the manga, like it's faithful to the material, but in the show it translates really
Okay.
weird. So people were like, why does the studio choose to do it like that? And it's
Yeah.
like they're just trying to stay faithful, man. Leave
Yeah.
them alone.
It's tough.
Mhm.
It's just sort of reminds me of like Game of Thrones.
Oh
Like,
yeah, my god, Jesus, man.
yeah, just attacking the guys and like they're trying their
They're
best.
trying their best. Hey man,
So
I have my gripes with that show, but I get that they did a decent enough job.
yeah, it's been like a big contentious thing on the podcast, like the main show, like
Mhm.
where we all stand on it. And yeah. Anyways, it sounds like you're like pretty big into the community of the show. Like you got the memes.
Mhm.
You know what's sort of like the narratives going on. Is there something you feel like the majority of the community gets wrong?
Oh man.
Like, yeah,
Few
what are your
things
biggest gripes with the
there.
community?
I don't know. Fucking first of all, if you're gonna immerse yourself into an anime that's full of characters like this, Christ almighty, all you're gonna see is people shipping characters. And I'm like, I don't care about that shit.
Yeah,
Stop. But some of these motherfuckers gotta stop with the shit I've seen. I'm not gonna get into it, but
Yeah.
just stop.
Is it just like lewd, or it's just like
lewd, or it's really stupid and like has no like footing in the anime or show, but people are like,
they just
they're
aesthetically
gonna
like
fuck, and then you're like,
yeah.
like in the first season, this one girl got a little bit more screen time towards the end of the season, and like the community fucking lost their shit, and they're like, that's it, that's waifu number one right there. Like,
How old are the characters in the show?
they're like 13, 14, I don't know, they're in high school.
No,
like
that's so
they're first
uncomfortable.
year. I'm like, y'all gotta stop that shit.
Grown ass men.
Yeah, exactly. These grown ass men be like, they're gonna fuck.
Oh man, you hate to see it.
But like, I don't know, I won't have too many gripes with like the community other than like that shit. But I don't know, there's some people who like they, conspiracy theorists happen all the time because you don't know. There's stuff that's like hinted at, and some of that shit you see is just like has no footing whatsoever.
Yeah.
And you're just like, but like the sad part of the show, and this is probably my one somewhat grievance, is there's like theories that like anyone who just watches the show like chill will be like, you know what, that person could be that person, and it's like, nah, that's too obvious. It's too obvious. And the show is like, but it is, and you're just like, why? You could have made that way better. And it's like, that's the obvious giveaway.
So you find like a lot of the reveals are like on the nose type of thing.
They're usually built up well, but like it's something that if you just give it enough attention, you could be like, I could see that happening, and then fucking sure as shit it happens.
Yeah, again, going back to Attack on Titan, that was one of the things I loved the most after like the first season got very popular, like on Netflix and everything. Was people being like, yo, so what do you think's going on? And then when I had read ahead, I was like, I would ask people like, yeah, so what do you think? Oh yeah, that's an interesting theory. It'd be like, you're totally wrong, but like
completely wrong. That show, it will subject your expectations so much.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you like, I watched that when it got released that first season, like immediately. And I was like, okay, this is the main character. This is a pretty slow, like going arc, the first 5 episodes are slow, and then you hit episode 5 and it's just like, and main character dead. You're just like, what the
oh my god. See, when that happened, maybe we'll have to do an episode on Attack on Titan or something.
Yeah,
but when that happens and then like the reveal after, so good.
It's so good, but like you're not expecting that whatsoever. And like the moment you kind of expect it's gonna happen is literally 2 seconds before when he gets his like leg chopped off, and you're like, wait, no, this is the main character.
You're like, oh, he's okay. Oh shit,
he's missing a limb. And then he gets
Yeah.
chopped, you watch his arm fly out, and you're just like, I
Yeah,
followed
one
this
of the
guy for
most
5
brutal
episodes
shows.
for this
Yeah.
to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a gooder. Love
Uh,
that thing.
So yeah, those are your gripes with like the community. And some of your gripes with the show are like it's a little bit too obvious type of thing. But going back to shipping, have you ever shipped a character together? And like, did it turn out in the show, or was it too on the nose? Like,
Well, that's the thing. So this show is like very, like I said, they're young, so you can't be like, yeah, they're gonna bang or they're gonna get married. Like they're still in high school by like,
yeah, that guy definitely has a crush on that.
Yeah,
person.
like there's
That's
like
it.
some that were kind of given like here's the first girl you meet and she's super cute and becomes friends to the main character. Does she like him? Probably. And then like seasons later, you're like, oh yeah, she totally likes him. It's fucking here you go, hand it to you on a plate. But like, I don't know. I don't ship anyone. I just enjoy the show for the most part. But there's stuff that I'm like, oh yeah, that's like future wifey for him probably.
What's your least favorite ship?
Oh god.
From this show or from all time?
All time or show? Show I would say is the girl that they literally, like I said, they hand her on a plate to the main character and it's given, and like half the community wants him to end up or her to end up with Blondie, and everyone, I'm like, why? This guy fucking sucks. Like he's cool, but he sucks.
See, I have that same feeling, not from the show, but from Avatar.
Oh my god!
Like people who ship Zuko and Katara,
Katara.
I'm like, dude, that's so toxic. He's so abusive. He chased her for like 3 years.
Yeah, for real. They have that one episode where they're like cool with each other after he helps her, and then everyone's like, that's it. They're fucking. That's it. That's all there is to it.
These 11-year-old children.
Yeah, these young ass children.
So yeah, I hate it.
Don't get me started, man. I've seen some shit like back when I was watching Avatar, and they're like, Azula's gonna fuck Sokka. Where?
I actually watched a show where people talk about fan fiction, and that for a lot of people like our age, they got into fan fiction because they would ship people. Or when you watch a show that's made for children, like a lot of animes are, or a lot of cartoons are, or at least have to make themselves viewable by that audience. Then like you get these sort of like tensions built up between characters, and there's never really a payoff, right?
Exactly.
So that's why people like have to write out their fucking looty fan fiction.
Yeah, they're like, so what if they did though, and you're just like, well, dear children,
it's like a release. It's like, fuck, I need to see it. Like, it's I think it's weird to be honest, but like it makes sense.
I get the perspective. Like I get it, but like, yeah, just let the show be its thing. You know, like for me, mostly I just want to watch the show and enjoy it. If there's something that I'm like, you know what, that would be cool if they did. I ain't going out here writing across the internet, be like, read my Bible I've made about how these two are gonna fuck.
16 years later.
Yeah, for real.
So that's what you hate about the fan base, is shipping.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. But what's something you actually hate about the show, or like the property, I should say, because you read the manga as well?
I mean,
besides the like on the nose type of things.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, I don't know, like that main, like his Captain America character, All Might, is a very well done character at the beginning, and then throughout the rest of the show, you know, he's supposed to be like this mentor to your main character, and it's kind of sad because they don't, from what I've seen at least, they haven't killed him off,
right?
And which is a good thing and a bad thing, because at the same time, you know, they've slowly been writing less of him, and it's like, I like this character, and if you're gonna stop writing him, at least like cut him out at least, or somewhat. But at this point, they're just kind of like having floating around being like, hey, I'm still here, and it's like and granted, this is like a manga for the most part, is very far ahead than the anime, so in the show you still see him quite a bit, but like where the manga is now, you're just like, is he all right? Is he alive back there or what? And I don't know, like for a character you've been set up a lot to like and whatnot, and for him to still be there, it's really a disservice to his character, I guess you could say, that they've kind of just been like, I guess he's okay, he's back there somewhere. It's like, I want to see more of that. This guy was like the dude before, like the hero. I want to know more and get more backstory from him and shit, but we're not giving it. So
yeah, I hate when that happens in shows, but it feels like there's so many like moving parts that it's like sometimes things get left to the wayside.
Like think of like Attack on Titan, where if like Erwin and you find out like his dad stuff, right? Like if we had no context to that, and like we just see what happens, and that he's focused on like finding out everything for Eren in this basement, right? Not, but you don't know any of like his backstory about how his dad kind of talked about that shit when he was younger and whatnot.
Right.
So like that context makes you really want to learn more about him. Unfortunately, they cut him out, but like that stuff, like their big Captain America character here has like
it's so sad that
minimal
character.
I know,
like
Erwin.
he just right before they get the thing to the oh man.
Dude, and my favorite meme from Attack on Titan is still that stupid one's like, never mind, I shouldn't have said that. Like when it comes up behind Eren with the hood up.
Yeah.
That shit killed me every time I saw one of those. But yeah, like that's what I mean. Like this character is like, in that position of like he has this backstory that would be like amazing if we learned it, but we're not given too much. We're given like small little tidbits.
Do you think they're saving it for like a big sort of moment at the end? Or
I don't know, man, because the way the show is written is like, he was doing his thing and that's about it. And it's like I want to see like more about that. I want to see more about his like master who passed it on to him and shit. Like we just have like these little tidbits like, she's cool. She knew what she was doing too. It's like, okay, cool. I want more.
Yeah.
So that's that's one of my grievances I have right now with the show. But I mean, it's whatever. I can live without it, but I wish it was there.
Right. That's fair. I think it's pretty good if your most or your least favorite thing about the show is they haven't dived in enough.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a pretty good issue to have.
Yeah, and for the most part, everyone else is like, here's their full backstory. So I'm cool with that. It's enough content to fill my heart.
Speaking of your heart, has this show ever made you cry?
Oh man, yeah. Well, in the first 2 episodes, like I said, they kind of talk about his mom and how she kind of sheltered him just because she didn't want him to get hurt. But yeah, he like really wanted to hear from his mom that he could be a hero when she found out like he couldn't. And it's almost like hurting him to know that he has that like passion in his heart, but he can't pursue it.
Yeah.
And like one of the first like things after like he meets the hero again, he gives him the power. He says to him, he's like, you can be a hero, and like kind of explains his quirk or his power to him. And you hear like his inner monologue. He's like, that's the one thing I ever want my mom to tell me. Like I just wanted to hear those words from you, like to hear that I have that ability. And it hit pretty hard, just knowing like your parents' words can really affect you and they don't realize it. And even for us as like their children, there's things we can say to our parents that affects them, but we don't realize it might hit them differently than when we think about it.
Right.
But yeah, it really hit the heart, and that was like in the first 2 episodes. I was like, damn.
They got you hard, eh?
Yeah, because the first episode sets that up, and the second episode pays it off really well. And I was like, fuck, that's so good. There's a few error here and there. Is one of another girl who like she wants to be a hero because she wants to like save her parents' business, and she's got this power to make things like float and use like zero gravity, and they have a construction business, so she wants to become a hero so she can pay for their business not to go under, and she can help them on their site and whatnot and make sure that their job is getting done easily, or for her parents who are getting older. And you see like a cut to her parents who are like, they're like, don't do anything for us, do it for you. And she ends up like doing this tournament where this tournament's really big. It can basically show off your powers and get people invested in you and like get them to
get like sponsorships.
Exactly. It's basically what leads up to their practicums. It's like get other heroes to view you and want to pick you to take a practicum with them. And she's really hurt because she like gets her shit kicked in by this guy basically. And it's her, and she calls her dad, or her dad calls her, and he's like, you were amazing, and she's like, no,
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, and she's like, I could have done more for you guys, like I could have done more to like represent myself to help you guys. And like, fuck, it hurt, man. Like I said, like slice of life, like your parents, you think of life and whatnot, but fuck, man, that shit hit good. I was like, and there's like a video essay you can find out there, and it's really good. It's got a lot of views, and it's like how my hero made me cry, and it's literally that scene and like how powerful it was. And fuck, man, I was like, the first time I saw that, I like fucking was like, fuck shit, I'm not crying, you're crying.
Yeah, no, man, it's happened to everyone. Like I'm on the episode we did on Naruto, me and Dustin, I talked about it a few times where like Naruto just hit me and I wasn't ready for it to hit me.
Oh
I
man.
like had to take a photo of myself because I was like, man, this is ridiculous. Cried
man.
over a cartoon, grown
Get
ass
me
man.
started on Itachi, man. Like,
yeah, oh man.
oof.
But I sort of love that, and that like the show really, what it sounds like to me, comes at it from the kid's perspective, right? Where just wants his mom to say he could be a hero, but for us as adults, we know that like his mom's just trying to protect him, keep him safe.
Exactly.
Doesn't want to say something that gets him hurt. She
Mhm.
probably believes in him, but like, you know, she just doesn't want to. And
She wants
as
what's
is
best for her
always the
child.
case, yeah, with these animes, is she's gonna say it right, like, and something terrible is gonna happen.
And they die,
Like,
or yeah,
yeah.
you're just like,
I've always
oh.
believed in you. Like,
But that's where it like did that coin flip instead. It was just like, it's not that his mom was going to finally say it, it's that someone finally told him he could.
right, yeah,
And it gave him an impact. And it wasn't just like anyone, it was like this number one hero
right,
believes in him as this kid who's got no powers, gets bullied, you know, is average at most. Like he's got nothing going for him. So it is very impactful for him. And like I said, the setup for it and the payoff is so well done. And you don't think about it because you hear her say that in the first episode where she's like, it's all he's like, can I be a hero, mom? And she's like, it's okay, it's whatever. And she's holding him while he's crying. And you're just like, okay, yeah, like it's her comforting him and saying like, you know, it'll be okay. But then you find out like that's all he actually wanted to hear from her was to be like, yeah, you can be a hero. And it's like, damn.
So I mean, obviously that's a moment that touched you, but is there any other moments or lessons that you'll sort of take with you, you know, maybe the rest of your life, or at least you've applied to your life as you've watched the show? Is there any like big lessons or even like small little moments that really like hit you hard? Not like in a tearful way, but just, I never saw things like that or anything like that.
I mean, yeah, so there's a few things like, you know, it's even just the main character learning to train his body. I'm like, shit, like the way they think about it and talk about like how he could be, you know, you can benefit yourself just by giving yourself that time. I was like, damn, like I can do that for myself if I really wanted to. But then there was another scene of him fighting Blondie again, and it's him fighting him, and they're in this like argument while they're fighting, and they're not supposed to be fighting. This is like after school hours, like on school property, and like they talk about how he as main character grew as a character because of him. Because even though he was getting bullied by him, he realized the greatness in this character. And
that's toxic as fuck.
Yeah, he's like, I was getting bullied by you, but I know that you have that power and you are a great individual if you want to be this. And I've realized because of you, I've slowly become similar to, because when I look at you, I see the embodiment of power. And he's like, and I don't think about it, but because of you, whenever I'm angry at someone or I'm, you know, want to use all my power, I start to be mean. And he like flashback to like parts where he's like, I will, like, you know, whatever, you dumbass or whatever, like you idiot, and like just kind of calling people names. But it's because blonde guy is a douchebag and he does that all the time. But you don't think about it until that moment, like 3 seasons later, where he's like, whenever I think of using my power and embodiment power, I think of like how you impacted me in that way, and I see you as the embodiment power. I'm like, shit, we do reflect off other people even if we don't realize it. Like there's small things that like you learn from someone, and even though, you know, and
even bad things a lot of the time, like hurt people kind of thing. And that like sort of cycles of abuse type of thing. It's unfortunate, but to be aware of it is like the first step to sort of
and like
that's
you don't
huge.
realize you pick up things from people like that, and you're just like, shit, I slowly become like personality traits of other people I've learned and met through life, whether it be good or bad, because like they impacted me in some type of way, and somehow I picked it up and became like part of that, you know, in my emotions or whatever. And I thought that was very true. I love like looking into psychological details and whatnot, so I thought that was really impactful when they talked about it. I was like, it's very true. Like it's so like easy.
I wish I knew that in high school. Like you know, so for those characters, that's a huge thing. Like
for real. Like as an anime, I was like, damn, shit, man. Okay, chill.
Especially if like your audience skews more towards children, like some animes do. I think those are cool lessons to be like at least making people aware of, type of thing.
Exactly. Like as a younger adult, like same thing. I didn't think about that. And now that I'm like 25, I'm like, shit, I did definitely like pick up my brother's bad habits, or like my mom's like, whatever, like it's all part of like when you're a childhood, all that stuff you see around you, even though you don't think it's affecting you, it's something that you start to embody as well. You pick up these habits and whatnot. It's psychological detail, but I love it.
So we're going to move into our trial by fire. But before we get into that, I want to ask, where does this show, because like we were saying before, you're a fan of a lot of things, the same way I am. And so I have a tough time putting things on like a
oh my god, man, don't ask me this.
But with this, do you think this one floats more towards the top for you, or like whereabouts would you rank this? It doesn't. You don't have to say it's better than this or that, but is it like in your top 5?
I would definitely say it's in my top 5. It might be my top 3, honestly, because there's like I like Naruto always sits up there because that's just like I grew up through that anime.
Yeah, that's your childhood, and
exactly. But like once again, let's refer back to like Death Note and like Full Metal. Like those are banger animes,
right?
But I don't know. I'd say it's definitely top 5. I'd say it floats around top 3. Especially with like Jujutsu Kaisen that just came out. I just got so sucked into that.
Dustin was telling me about that one too.
Oh man, you gotta watch it if you haven't watched it. Holy Christ! Like normally it takes me like a season or 2 to get into a show or to get into their manga. I like got halfway through the first season. I was like, I gotta read this shit. I like bought the whole manga before the season 1 was done.
Yeah, usually if I go to the manga or like to the source material of anything, it's because I've caught up with the adaptation.
Exactly. So that's the first time animes genuinely made me like hop into the manga before I even like finished the first season. So
and it's like a shonen one as well.
It's a shonen as well, but that's like action based. So like if you want just like pure adrenaline, it's good shit with a good story. But I'd say top 3, definitely top 5, but floats between that top 3 position basically. Yeah, I love My Hero, and I've been watching every episode as soon as it comes out. I watch it with people all the time at work. Like even when I worked at my old job, I watch it with like Sharif.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so I watch it with a lot of friends. I remember 3rd season came out. I had a friend come over and we just binged the first 2 seasons before we started the 3rd season.
Oh no way! That's
sick. It was sick. Like I love this show so much, and like this is a poster for the new movie, but there's already been 2 movies for this anime, and I've watched both of them in theaters in English and Japanese.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Are they canon or are they sort of separate?
So the first movie takes place after like the 3rd season had finished. It takes place between the 3rd and 2nd season, so it came out after the 3rd season already finished.
Okay.
The 2nd movie came out as the 4th season was finishing, so it continues right off of that.
Okay.
But they are canon. They weren't in the manga initially, but like the writer Kohei Hirokoshi, he like said like no, they are canon, and if you watch them like in line with everything, they fit perfectly like puzzle pieces. Like,
I love that.
Watch it.
And that's one of my pet peeves with anime is the movies that aren't canon. It's just like, we just didn't have enough source material, so we made a movie.
Exactly. Like oh god. Like, and don't get me wrong, like some of them are pretty good.
Yeah.
But some of them are
yeah. Like just I don't know. I'm more like a story, especially with anime. Like I love animation, but like if the story's not there, I'm sort of like not into it.
Exactly. If the story is not going to lead anywhere, it doesn't do anything for me.
Also, do you watch this or how do you take in most of like your anime consumption? Is it dubbed or do you watch subtitled?
Subtitle, always. Okay.
Yeah,
I will watch something subbed first, and then if I enjoy it enough, I'll go rewatch it in English to see how well it's done.
Yeah.
Like there's one scene from like that Captain America All Might character where his Japanese voice actor just like screams at the top of his lungs, and it's so like heartfelt, and I was like, holy fuck, that was amazing. As soon as it got released in English, I was like, I have to see if this guy did a good job or not. I gotta find out the English one. But I love watching it in English just because like,
did he do a good job?
He did a pretty good job, but the Japanese one is like, it hit my
I find that's the difference, man. Like when I watch in Japanese with subtitles, I'm like, damn, like I feel it. Like, they're putting everything into it. And with the English dub, sometimes I'm just like, yeah, you said that.
Yeah, you gave it a little bit.
Yeah.
No, like, that the one Japanese like hit my soul. And then the one in English, I was like, okay, it's good enough try. It's good enough try. So I always watch it in English because at the same time I like to show my girlfriend shows as well all the time. and she doesn't like watch subs as often. She will, but she's one of those people who's like on her phone a lot.
Yeah,
So
it's a tougher
easier
sell for
to
sure.
listen. So I just put it in English usually, so it's easier for her to listen, even if she's like in the kitchen doing
She's
something.
not just asking you, what did he say?
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And trust me, she's that person. She's like, wait,
Yeah.
what happened? I'm like,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I like watching in English just so I can make sure she sees good, and I like to see the comparison all the time.
Right on. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into this trial by fire. These are going to be like just some like random questions. If you want to explain them, please do.
Okay.
But yeah, the first one I always ask is, would you ever get a tattoo of this property?
Yeah, hands down, dude. I want to get like the Anbu Black Ops for Naruto. I think I'd get something for this. Like,
Okay,
definitely.
cool.
I'm just the question is what, because like there's so many logos and like hero designs.
Does
and
each
whatnot
hero have their own like?
they
logos
usually
and
have like
everything?
some type of like emblem or something that relates to them that gets you to like want to like be like, oh, I want a shirt of that or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But or like it's on their like outfit barely, but like there's nothing specific for like the main characters since they're students and they're not professional heroes yet.
Oh, I
So
see.
it's kind of be like, what would I put to represent
Right.
them other than like the colors or some shit? So it's kind
Yeah.
of like it's questionable. I'll probably wait till the show or the manga comes to a finish where I have an idea of like something to represent these characters properly, and then I'll get like a little mini tattoo of that. But
That's
at the
sick.
moment, probably not because there's nothing to show. But I definitely would. I think.
Do you have any other anime or like nerdy tattoos already?
Fuck, dude. No. So just quick backstory. My
Go
parents are
ahead.
very
Yeah.
yeah, old school, and they do not want us getting tattooed. I told myself once I moved out, I would get tattooed, and here I
Okay.
am. So the question is, when and what? So I
Yeah.
have a few
Hopefully your
already.
mom's not watching this.
Exactly. No, I got a few planned that will be hidden for a while
Yeah.
before I like take my shirt off in front of my parents. But yeah, I haven't planned anything yet. But I do want have a few that I have an idea of. But the only like anime related one before like that I have planned out is the Anbu one. I fucking love that one. So
So what one? Because there's a bunch of different masks for that, or what do you plan on getting for that one?
so each Anbu character has their own mask, but if you look at them, they all have that little like swirl on the side of their shoulder.
Right.
And I
Okay.
want to get that swirl.
Oh,
Just
sweet.
I would love to get
Yeah.
a mask made. I actually do have a Toby mask, but it's at my parents' house at the moment. But way back when I did a Toby cosplay, since as a Latino
way.
dude,
I,
I don't fit in as a character in Naruto that well. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's funny. So you chose the mask character so that you could
Exactly. Well, I like for like a long time ago, I got like the Sharingan contact lenses. So I thought they were pretty sick. And then I have a friend who was doing paper mache, and I asked him like he like Naruto too. I was like, "Can you do a Toby mask for me?" He's
No
like,
way.
"I'd fucking love to." And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So I got that Toby mask, and then my brother bought me this big Sharingan bag at the time. And
Yeah.
then I went to Anime Con here in our city.
Yeah.
And I bought like the Akatsuki robe. So I have the robe and the mask at my parents' place. And the robe is the one you've seen Sharif wearing in his Instagram pictures. He took it from my place and he was taking a bunch of pictures, and I took them with
Oh
him.
yeah, I remember that day on. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because a buddy of mine also did a Toby cosplay.
Mhm.
But he had a mask, and the mask was just orange, and it's a really cool Toby mask. Where I like most of them are like flat and they
Yeah,
paint
yeah.
on the swirl, but
Mhm.
this one was like sculpted.
Yeah,
that-
mine was too.
Yeah, so like that the swirl was like sculpted. in.
Actually, like had depth to it. Yeah, exactly. No, that's why I got
I'm
my
pretty
friend.
sure it was paper mache as well.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
I-
Like, and we just got
Yeah,
like the band behind it. It was rubber and it was perfect.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah, I like I told him like, yo, give me that and it had like a Sharingan like sculpted into it.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, yo, don't worry, man. Give me that. And I like took my Dremel tools and like I repainted it, made it
Nice.
like
Yeah.
the perfect realistic orange and stuff.
Man,
Put like foam for his face. It
that's
was
pretty sick. I wish I had the pictures because when I did that cosplay, I took like the eyeliner pen basically and did like the scar lining that he has on his face. I did it
Okay,
underneath,
yeah.
and I had my contacts in, and we took some pretty cool pictures where with light on, where you could see the red eye coming through like the
that's sick,
mask
yeah.
because it had depth, so it's kind of got a little bit behind. But if you get enough light to shine through, you can see like the bright red of the Sharingan popping
that's
out.
so
It
cool.
looks sick. Like I have these awesome pictures, but they're from like, I want to say like 2000 or 2013, and I think I lost the phone that had that on.
Oh
it.
no.
So I don't really
Okay,
have
if you
many.
find those in like the next week, send them to me and I'll put them in the video.
Yeah, we'll do, man. I'll see if I can dig them up somewhere.
That's awesome. Okay, so like we've said, you have a girlfriend. You're in a happy relationship. That's a theme with people who come on this show, I guess. Maybe it's not a coincidence. That's awesome. But say you were on a first date, or when you went on your first date, is this something you would bring up, or is it something you're more reserved to let people know about you?
I mean, at least like it relationship wise, never like jumping at the opportunity to be like, by the way, I love anime. But
Yeah.
I always drop that because especially if you're doing like a relationship, you kind of want them to have an idea of what they're getting into.
Yeah.
So I'll tell them like, by the way, I like, I like watching anime and blah blah, but whatever. Like not trying to be like, do you?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I always drop like I play games, I watch anime, I like that stuff, like my own time. I'm a nerd, like regardless. And usually it works out pretty well.
Yeah.
As long as you're not like trying to force it on anyone, it's like religion, right? No one wants to be like, have you watched it yet?
Yeah, can I talk to you about our good Lord
Our
Savior
good
Almighty?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
no, the reason I asked this question, because for a long time I was very like I didn't want people to know I was into like nerdy things, because like it comes with all like the stereotypes and like preconceptions of like what people who are into these things are. But I feel like now, especially like with Marvel becoming as big as it is, everyone's sort of into something nerdy.
Exactly. Everyone's got some kind of like fandom that they're into for the most part.
And I think it's an interesting character trait that like, obviously like that's why I do the show, is like I like bringing people on and they bring something they love, and then through that we sort of learn more about the person, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think like if you're out there and you're watching this, don't hide your interest to people.
Yeah, no,
unless it's like Game of Thrones.
Unless you're into some weird shit like GOT.
Like shipping and shipping.
Oh god! If someone's first thing was like, "Yeah, I love shipping anime characters," I'd be like, "I gotta leave."
Maybe don't bring your fanfic to the first date.
Yeah. Can you give us a read and let me know if this is good or not?
So I heard you like anime. Here's my 50-page fanfic.
No, I think if you're doing like friendships, like if you're meeting someone, like you're like, this guy's cool. Like it's good to like kind of figure out where they stand too, and then once you kind of develop like being able to talk to them to be like, oh yeah, no, I like doing this, like I like gaming, whatever, on side,
right? And
then usually if they have the same hobby interest, they'll say it, and even if they don't, doesn't mean you guys can't be friends because it's friendship. But you don't want to be like, I'm a huge anime nerd like for day one, because then they're going to be like, I don't want to talk to this dude, this guy sucks. But like when I'm doing relationships, I always like to at least sneak it in there and be like, yeah, no, I do this on the side. I'm sure you've had this problem too, knowing your layer, but even at my parents' house, I had my office with all my nerdy
all your
Funko Pop wall. Yeah, exactly. So it's like that date that ends up going back to like your place. That's like, do I show them the room or not? Like, because that's my office. They had my desk and everything. And I remember like,
why is it so dark in your living room?
Yeah.
Like, exactly. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I mean, like when I brought my current girlfriend over, like I told her straight up, I'm like, I will show you this room next time you come. And she's like, why? What's in there? I'm like, don't worry about it. And I'm pretty sure she went and opened it and looked. She's like, oh my God, what the hell?
I have that. Bye.
I gotta go. And you know what? It could have been worse. There could have been like big titty anime bitches in there, but there wasn't. So, I was safe from that. But a lot of nerdy shit.
Waifu pillows and
stuff. Waifu pillow.
Yeah. Okay. That's an awesome answer. So then I guess like say someone like you went on the first date with, and you were like, you snuck it in there, like, yeah, no, I'm into some nerdy stuff, and they were like, ew, like I'm not, or maybe they were like, My Hero sucks. Oof. Like I like anime, but like that show specifically sucks. How would you react to that?
If they like anime, I'd be like, you're talking some mean words. Let's hear your list. I would immediately challenge them. And everything they say, regardless of what it is, I'd be like, that's not it. And I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that. But I'd probably be like, okay, what do you watch then? Because there's probably some commonality. Because I've watched so much anime that, man, there's like something that they've got like that I've watched or enjoyed as well.
Yeah.
So if there's something there, if you like anime and I like anime, fuck, by all means.
Yeah.
Like my girlfriend, before she started dating me, didn't watch Shonen stuff. She watched like smaller animes, like more relationship type stuff, and she like watched K-dramas. But like with me, I've kind of introduced her to more Shonens, and she's starting to love them and grow on them. But like if someone just immediately was like, "Ew, you like anime?" I'd be like, "Okay, well, there's gotta be some commonality there, even if you don't if even if you don't watch anime, if you don't blow it off, then that's fine. If you're like, oh, I don't watch anime, how's that, whatever, that's fine. But at the moment you're just like, that sucks. It's like, well,
It was
clearly,
probably not going to work out.
yeah, exactly. There's probably not much going to go for us if you already don't like one of the things I basically love doing on like Saturdays is binging anime. It's like, then we're probably not going to get along too well further more than this.
Fair enough. Yeah, great answer. So how often, let's say you're not on the first date, and we talked a little bit about you watch this show with friends, you watch it with coworkers. How often do you get to talk about it on like a regular basis?
Fairly often. Not like, going on my way to be like, yeah, blah blah, I love the show. But just because like when I worked my old job, I worked with Sharif, and I worked with another buddy of mine who I've known since like grade 10, and it's one of the other guys we went to Japan with, Richie, and we love anime, so we watch it all the time. Before both of them got fired from that job, we would watch it every Saturday.
Oh boy.
But yeah, and Richie's the guy who I had come over, and we just binged the first 2 seasons. So like every Saturday I would normally talk to them about it. And then my brother and his girlfriend actually got into it as well. So every so often we'll be like, watch that episode, catch that shit, blah blah. But like now at my current job where I am, I have a friend who he likes anime but doesn't watch it as often. So like he won't go out of his way normally at home just because he's busy with other shit. But every Saturday we work, like that's our anime day. It's like, you haven't caught up, let me catch you up on this episode.
Oh,
and
nice.
I've binged episodes with him. I've binged My Hero. I've binged what else have I binged? Oh man, like Jujutsu Kaisen. We did a race, I think, too. We did a few animes, and I just watch it with him because he normally doesn't watch it at home. This is normally with his girlfriend watching something. She doesn't watch anime as often as well.
Okay, gotcha.
So like with me, it's like the boys' anime day. Let's do it. So yeah, usually Saturday or Sunday whenever we work, it's like that's watching it. And right now, My Hero's going, so we talk about like literally every Saturday.
Okay, so let's say you go to a party, right? Your girlfriend brings you to a party of like her friends.
Okay.
So maybe people you don't know as well.
Mm-hmm.
And someone you see like someone's wearing like a jacket with like one of those little logos on it.
Oh God.
Do you bring it up, or what's the approach?
Oh man, that's tough because like even though I'm an outgoing person, I usually don't like to approach too many other people, especially in like a scenario where it's like free game, talk to whoever the fuck you want. Because some people, especially as someone who watches anime and talks to a lot of people who watch anime, not everyone is the most social, at least in the more anime adept community. We're more of an antisocial bunch.
I think that's fair to say.
I'm not saying that everyone is, just there's like a good portion. So I don't like to always bring it up. And my go-to move whenever I've had like that scenario come up, because it has actually happened, is I'll just be like, if I ever find myself, I won't go out of my way to be near this person, but if I ever find myself near someone, I always give them a compliment on it. Like, oh, that's sick. I love that. My Hero, right?
Whisper in the ear. Nice.
No, I'll have a drink in my hand. I'll take a chunk. Yo, sick logo, dude. No, usually I just like give them a little like, oh, that's sick. That's from My Hero, right? And they'll be like, yeah, it is. I'm like, cool, yeah, I watch it too. And if it goes from there, then great. If it doesn't, then who cares? We're both here doing our own thing. But usually, like, if there's some kind of like little thing, if I find myself in that scenario, I'll usually give them a little shout out. Like I ran to like one of my best friends at Nate because he had an Overwatch hat on.
Oh,
and
nice.
like, I met him at my present, like, what is it? Basically when you find out like what classes you're going to be in, like orientation,
registration.
Basically I met him like during orientation. We just happened to be in the same room. I was like, hey, you play Overwatch? He's like, yeah, blah blah. I'm like, oh cool, who do you play? And he's just like, and we became friends from there, and
nice.
Talked for like our first 2 years. Like we were really tight back then. So just like I'll always like hint at it, but I won't push it further unless the other person feels comfortable.
Man, that's like the number one reason, or maybe probably the number two reason why I buy shirts with things I love on them is because I'm like, okay, I want to support these people, number one, and I like this thing, I want to have it.
Exactly.
Like but two is like, what if I'm out in somebody's like Critical Role? I'm like, that's finally someone to talk to.
Oh man, and like I used to work at a gym before, and like all of like the North Side of State would always come by. Like I swear to God, I saw so many people like of all walks of lives. But like I'm there in my work clothes, and I'm usually signing people up for their membership and shit. But people will come up with like anime hat or like Marvel shirt or whatnot. And I always be like, "That's a sick shirt." And they'd be like, "Oh, thanks, man. I'm like, yeah, no, I love that shit too. And I'm like, cool. And then like I end up seeing them all the fucking time whenever they come in for a workout.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes escalates to me like, hey man, how you doing? To like, yeah, you watched that latest episode? Oh, yeah, man.
Right.
Yeah. So I made a lot of random friends when I was at the gym just because like, yeah, you see all kinds of people wearing whatever fandoms they're into, and I love everything basically. So I'm like, hey, I know that shit too.
Yeah, it's a great way to connect with people. This one time
It's
I was at the mall, this guy was selling they were like coupon books for like the local firefighters what would you call that? Union type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't really know how it all works, but it's like $20. You get a bunch of coupons. I'm not really a couponer.
Yeah.
I'm too lazy. Like I don't think I even ever used the book, but I bought it because the guy was like, "Hey man, how's it going? Can I talk to you about this?" And I was like in a good mood because I had just watched Blade Runner the night before, the newest Blade Runner, and so I was like, "Yeah, man, like what is it?" He goes, "Oh, you know, like he's telling me about it." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then he asked me like, "What'd you do last weekend?" Because he's trying to like pitch me on like you could have used this or that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or what'd you do, or what are you doing this weekend? I said, "Oh, you know, last night I saw this movie." He said, "Oh, me too. I saw Blade Runner." And I was like, "Dude," he's like, "Oh my god, it was so good." I'm like, "Oh my god, the fucking thing!" And we like went off for like 15 minutes. So I was like, "Yeah, I'll buy the fucking."
Give me those coupons, bro.
Yeah.
No, man, it's the worst when you have to do the opposite. Like I like that gym I worked at was in the mall, and I have a My Hero shirt that I made into like a cut off sleeveless shirt from when I work out.
Yeah.
So I would go into the mall after to go get like Subway or some shit, something I could eat. And at one time I was walking by one of the kiosks, and this dude was like, "It's like, oh, did you watch the newest movie?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I did." He's like, "How would you think?" I'm like, "It's pretty fucking good." Well, you like, "Oh yeah, good." Blah blah. You watch sub dub? Yeah. And we start shooting the shit about My Hero.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, cool. This guy's cool as shit." And he's like, "Yeah, blah blah." Anyways, you want to try on this resistance band? I was like, "Oh, dude, no, man." I'm like, "Nah, G, I'm good." He's strong as Walmart. I'm like,
"No,
stop it right there, man.
You abused my trust."
Exactly. Like, I thought we were going to be cooler than that, man.
Or like when you're like, "Hey, man, like I saw this one guy in the liquor store."
Yeah.
And it was again the night after I just watched episode 9 of Star Wars.
Nice.
And if you know, like you're it's iffy.
Yeah.
Like, it's 50-50 of whether people enjoyed it or not. So, but I did. And so I see this guy and he's wearing a Rise of Skywalker thing. Yeah. I'm like, oh, this guy must have had like, opening night seats. So I go, "Hey man, nice jacket. Like, what'd you think?" And he like gave me this look, man, like he wanted to say he loved it.
Yeah,
but he thought I was gonna shit on him. And I was like, "No, man, it's okay. I loved it." And he's like, "Oh, thank God." And so we're like talking in the liquor store, just like, "Oh man, I loved it, man. Fuck people. They don't get it."
That was the worst. Cause I went to work the next day. And like I said, I saw a bunch of people when I worked at the gym, and like literally like they'd be like, "Oh, did you watch the new Star Wars?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And they'd be like, "Pretty shit, right?" And I'm like, I mean, it's not terrible. And they'd be like, "No, man, fuck yeah." I'm like, ah.
No, with episode 8, it was definitely like that. And I didn't really enjoy it. So people would like, and I'll just be like, "Yeah, like I guess." They're like, "Oh, you're pretty upset, eh? You're a big Star Wars guy. That thing sucked." And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, man. I'm having a
I don't put myself out as a Star Wars person. I love watching the movies. I know a little bit of backstory and everything, but I try not to like put it out there because the whole community is torn, man. There's people who are invested at the beginning, now they just fucking hate it. There's people who are just like diehards, right? And it's like,
and then there's straight up just awful people within it. Like, black people shouldn't be in Star Wars. And you're like, what
does that have to do with anything?
Yo, what?
Yeah, man, it's hurt when you have to talk to people sometimes about those movies.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Like with some fan bases, it's just like, you want to like talk to other people who are also into it, but then like you get too deep in them sometimes. It's like, like, or like people who don't know about this show think I'm like these people. Like, I don't want that.
I want to be involved with them.
Yeah.
Oh man. Or like when a show does something just like god awful and it splits people, and you're just like, fuck, I don't know, man. Like I still like the show for what it was before that. And
it's like Game of Thrones, man. It's Game of Thrones.
Exactly, it's Game of Thrones, and they're like, "Nah, fuck that show." It's like it was good before that part. Though they're like, "Nah." It's like, I don't know what to tell you, man.
It's tough, yeah. Yeah, that one's like upsetting when it's like universally panned and you're
Yeah,
just like
exactly.
no one wants to talk about it at all, or unless they
Exactly.
do, it's like really negative and
Yeah,
you're like,
exactly.
oh,
Like
okay.
most people who are like Game of Thrones don't want to admit they like the intro of it, or they'll
Yeah.
be like just watch the first 2 seasons or some shit like that. But most people who want to talk Game of Thrones are just like, now let's take this dumpster fire and make it
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
Trash on it.
Okay. So let's say you're not running into people,
Okay.
but or people who are trying to sell you resistant bads.
Yeah.
But let's say you could never talk about this again.
Mhm.
Someone came, like some billionaire who, wasn't helping people in ways they should, but was like, I
Musk.
just want to fuck with this guy.
The
Like,
Musk.
I want to take away something he loves. What would your price be for someone to be like, you can never talk about this again? You can't read it, you can't watch it, you can't listen to the soundtracks, you can't wear the shirts, but you can still have your memories of it. Like, no one can take those away, but you're
I
not
don't
allowed
know.
to enjoy it or talk about it. How much money would it cost?
It would fuck, dude. That's a hard question because like just for reference, like I love watching like anime intros if they have good music, and I will
Yeah.
find those songs on Spotify. And I have a Spotify playlist called My Weeaboo Academia, and it's all these Japanese songs that I've gone
Yeah.
off animes off like the last 12.
Do you ever look up the words? Or are you
I
just
have
vibing?
I
Okay.
have looked at the words to see like if I really like the song, I'll find out what it is.
Okay.
Just to kind of like have an understanding of what the song's about. But sometimes some of them I just enjoy them, man. I'm just like,
Yeah.
these are bops
You
regardless of
can
what they're
feel
saying.
you can feel like this song's sad. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know what he's
exactly.
saying, but like
Like if I couldn't like if I could still watch it and not talk about it, I wouldn't give a shit. Give me fucking pay me whatever. But if I can't even listen to the music, which like it's anime and music are my life, man. You're
yeah.
taking away both of them at that point. You're killing me
Yeah.
here. Oh fuck, dude. I have to say, like, I don't even know, dude. That's tough. It's
Are we
definitely
talking
up
like
there. Like
upwards of a mil? Like, yeah,
it'd
yeah.
have to be like close to a mil, man. If
Yeah.
not a mil, it has to be like close to like 75,000 or
Life-changing money type
yeah,
of thing.
exactly. Like
yeah.
it's gotta be, yeah, exactly. It's gotta be like a substantial amount that I have to like have therapy and then develop a brand new playlist of music and hire a team to write
That's a
me
great
an anime.
answer. That might be my favorite answer yet. Enough money to produce something identical and also get therapy.
I can enjoy, and they can watch it and read it, and I cannot, and they have to produce something similar to, but not the same.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. What a great answer.
Yeah, man.
Okay. So a little bit of a different question here. But going back to the actual show, I'm going to give you 3 different scenarios and you tell me which one you agree with. Would you want to live in this world as a character in the world? Like, would you want to exist as part of this universe?
Oh yeah, I think definitely. Like this world's so expansive that I would love to like just if I could plot myself in and like have a power that I thought of, that'd be sick.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to split it into some sections.
Okay.
The first scenario is you get to be in this world and you're Joe, but you don't retain the knowledge you have of the world.
Okay.
And you have no powers. Would you do it?
Oh, like the world is cool, but man, if I couldn't even participate, I'm just a like bystander. I don't know if I could do that, man. Like,
It's really just a more dangerous world.
Exactly. It's literally like, here's your city, quote, your city, and then instead of people who can possibly rob you here and there, there's people constantly blowing up shit and, you know, possibly murdering the whole society. So do you want to live there? Probably not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand people who live in Gotham City. I won't want to live there.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I could
right?
live in a world like this especially if I didn't have a power. If I had a power and then like I could just like go in and do my life, then fuck yeah, sure. I'd love to try it out. But if I was just like normal, just me, I'd be like, why the fuck am I here anyways?
Yeah.
Stay at home and watch it instead.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great answer. Okay, so what about if you had a power, obviously you would go?
Oh yeah. Hands
Okay.
down.
Okay. So what if you still had no power, but you retained all your information about the characters in the world, how powers work, any sort of science regarding it? You know what I mean?
Buddy,
Would
yeah.
you then go?
yes, because then I do have a power. I can fucking see the future, man. They don't know that I don't have a power. They're just like, yeah, this guy's a psych. I don't know.
Until the manga runs out.
Yeah, until like, it catches up to where I don't know shit. And now
start making it up.
This person might die. I don't fucking. Yeah, no. I think that'd be pretty cool if I knew stuff that was going on. It would suck to not be able to participate once again, but it'd be nice to kind of have an idea of how everything's gonna play out and be able to kind of enjoy it still while being there live.
And you could also just time it out perfectly where you save Blondie.
Exactly.
And then you get the power.
yeah, exactly. I can be the next All Might,
like slapping yourself in the face. There's got to be a hero for 3 seconds here.
Just go. Just do it before he does. Do it before he does.
Trip him, like push him over.
Yeah, like,
sorry, kid.
Get out of here, kid. This is my story now.
Your mom loves you, kid.
Push him be over. A hero, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, so last question here. We know you said if someone paid you a stupid amount of money to, forget this or not enjoy this openly, you would hire people to make you a new one. But would you want to be the person? Let's say, like, never mind that whole scenario, but let's just say someone was like, you won the sweepstakes, and someone was like, hey, you're a big fan of this property. We want you to sort of direct and produce a live action version of this. Would you want to do it? Is it too much responsibility? Like, and let's say you don't even get paid for it. Your only payment is making a good final product.
How it works out.
Yeah.
I think I would like to be on the crew and be able to give notes. I don't think I would want to be like the main head runner of everything, just because I don't have like cinema experience and whatnot. But I think if I could just be like, this actor would do good, or if we did this to the costumes and kind of like do set design, make sure everything like, looks properly, I would hands down be on.
So you want to be a producer more than like a director or a
exactly. Writer. I don't want to direct it for the most part. I think I could give like notes on directing, but I think like if it just came down to making sure everything looked good and played out well, then I would rather do that. Just so like that the quality of the film comes out more than just like, oh, it's got the name. Cool.
Yeah, it's
but like
another
nothing. It looks nothing like it.
Anime.
Yeah, exactly. It's another Dragon Ball Z. Yeah. It's like we don't want that one again.
Yeah. Okay, so would you? Let's say you could only be the writer. Would you do it?
I could be a writer. Ooh, that'd be interesting.
Like you decide what story they're going to tell, and then they'll handle it from there. And do you think you would please all fans or a good majority of them, or what do you think?
I wish I could please all the fans, but I think I could do like a good portion, like definitely like a 50-50 split. But like fan bases are always torn, man. Like unless you're doing like what the main writer did ahead and no one has input and they just have to enjoy it, no one's going to be like, this is perfect. As soon as they find out like a fan made this, they're going to be like, doesn't hold up to the standards. Oh, it's not as good. Oh, the main guy didn't write. It's not canon. Yada yada. You're gonna get all these people who give you shit for whatever fucking reason.
Speaking of fan made stuff, I saw this great live action. It was more like a stunt reel type of thing. A really talented stunt actor.
Is it? What's his name? I think I know what you're talking about already. Continue.
Yeah, like darker skinned guy. I think there was like 2 or 3 other people, and he's doing the thing where he throws the backpack and teleports to it. Have you seen that?
Yeah, UA.
Yeah.
So school is called UA that they tend to, and it's like if it happened in America, basically.
Oh, okay.
Oh
cool.
Man, that whole thing is so well done. And actually, I watched another few dudes on YouTube, and like they're all stuntmen, basically everyone on that. But the guy who's directing that is a huge fan of My Hero, but he's also a stuntman too.
Yeah.
And that guy who you're talking about, who's in that, is the stand-in for Black Panther. And he's
you watched the stuntman react to.
Oh, Corridor Digital, yeah. No, but I watched that. I watched that UALA like as soon as it was coming out episodically. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing! And like all my friends who like watched the show, I was like, watch this right now, watch this. I was like, no, that's so good. And like the way they produce that, because it takes place in the world, but it's not the story It's just a different story somewhere else. The way it was done for that little mini, it was like 3 episodes, but they made it into like a 1 video thing. It's so well done because it gives you enough to be like, oh, okay, so what about places that aren't Japan? How does that work, right?
It's sort of like the Hogwarts thing, like this happens in Europe. What about other places?
Exactly. How would another like country or like different group of people take on the same responsibility? Yeah, I think that was really well done. they had a good effects team and a good enough like set that, or I guess not set, but like good enough props and stuff to make it work. And like like the way they show powers is really well. Whoever they got to do the voiceover for their like powers was really well done too. It sounds like almost like the original one from the show.
Nice.
I was like, that's pretty good, man. Oh, I love that video. If I could do one like that, I would hands down do it. If it's just like my own story, whatever,
that's like the gold standard for you now.
Yeah, I love that. I think I could do something like that if I had the group to do it and the money. I would totally try to do something like
that. Last question, I guess. Is that canon in the show that Tokyo's not the only place like this? Are there other places like that we know for sure are? Oh, okay,
no,
cool.
it's like standard, like the Earth, but the difference is like everyone's got their own heroes that they look up to.
Oh, okay.
So like the All Might character is the one in Japan, and there's a part in like the movie too where you find out he went to like the States, to Texas, and Nevada to study, and you find out like he was like a, what's the word I'm looking for, but basically he was a transfer student and he like did some studies there, and he was saving people when he was really young before people knew him as All Might.
Oh wow,
it's really cool. And you kind of see how they developed like him as a character, but also like people he knew in the States, and how he, like stuff that's in the show canon right now came from like a guy he knew in the States, or like how he became to be. It's really cool. Sweet, so the world is still like there. It's just like even when he goes to the States, you see a bunch of people that are more like for that region, like Americanized.
Yeah. Cowboy heroes and stuff. Yeah.
And like the guy who writes My Hero, he was like a huge Marvel fan, and like he loves Spider-Man. So like that's the reason he started all of My Heroes, because he loves like that whole like Marvel like timeline basically, that he wanted to replicate in a way that was unique and different, but also had the similarities to that. So that's why it's another hero story, but a different one, like a well done, different enough that you can separate it from like, oh, it's just another Captain America guy, I guess.
That's the thing too, right? Like even Marvel had to get to a point where they're like, we can't just do superhero movies. We got to do genre movies with superheroes.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Like if you watched like Avengers basically multiple times, and every like movie was like that, you'd be like, that's the same shit again, I guess.
I think that's why people don't like the second Avengers movie, because it's the first Avengers movie with a different skin on top.
Exactly. Yeah. That one was hard to like too, like story wise, but like if you just take a step out of like the main storyline and go to like the first Doctor Strange, like that movie is phenomenal. I love that movie. It's just a brain trip the entire time, and I loved it. It was a comedy and like this weird trippy hero movie. That was sick in my opinion. So I think it's a good way of separating your heroes and making them unique too per movie, that you're gonna like, oh, okay, here we go again, here's his origin, yada yada. Like, how about we make this a little weird for everyone? What if we bring in the scary audience, or how about we bring in like the buddy cop film comedy people in, like bring those guys in and make it like weird. That's why Taika Waititi is such a good director too for like Thor Ragnarok. Like that movie's hilarious and it's funny as shit.
So what would be, let's say like maybe you're not spearheading the My Hero movie, but let's say you're like, hey, you seem like you have good ideas. We want to give you like a superhero franchise. We want you to like write it. What would be like, just maybe, hopefully no one out there steals your idea, but like what would be like your idea to like turn it on its head type of thing?
Oh man, I think like I would do a story that hasn't really been told right so far in the show. It's basically like we're in the show generations ahead where like superpowers like commonality, but I'd like to do it maybe when it was like earlier in stages where it was like getting to like the 25% people now being born are starting to have powers and have developed over time, and like most of them are in their teens or like in their they're becoming their own adults, and it's like, but only the small percentage would be. I like to do kind of like growing up with a power and also becoming like one of the first heroes. I think that would be really cool.
That'd be sick.
Yeah. And then kind of like rising up with other people. I think that'd be pretty interesting take on like the same universe, just like earlier in the timeline.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love that. Well, yeah, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
No, thank you for having me.
This has been awesome. I don't know anything about the show before you came on to talk to me, but I'm invested now.
I'm glad I could give you some insight.
Yeah. So where can people find you if they want to talk to you about My Hero?
My Instagram is control.alt.yen. It's really weird, but basically Control-Alt-Delete with a dot instead, and yen as the delete instead. Nice. And then if you want to find me on Twitter, I guess I'm there too. I'm open to talk about stuff, but it's young fuckboy with BOI instead of BOY. Yeah.
How long have you had that username?
I've had that since 2013.
Wow,
I
you
think
were
in high school when that the whole fuck boy like word came along, everyone thought it was funny. I was like, yeah, he's like, yeah, no, I was like, I gotta grab this because it's funny as shit. Like I
Man,
gotta
that
grab
should have been
this.
a rapper like 10 times over.
Right,
There's probably
exactly.
a guy out there be like, yo, let me make sure I got the domains. It's like, fuck.
No, there's probably some guy who's like, yo, give me that at right now. I need
straight up.
that.
He's like,
But
I'm
I've
about
had
to
it
launch my
forever.
album. I just gotta make sure I have the Twitter. And fuck, who's
Oh
this
man, I don't
loser
even
talking about my hero?
I don't even use my Twitter as much anymore. It's here and there, but I've gotten
Yeah.
like people in the middle of a club and be like, yo, you're young fuckboy, right? I was like, yeah, that's me. Or
you're like, out with your girlfriend, like,
yeah,
cut the shit.
yeah. No, I've been with girls and I've been like, they'll be like, oh, what's your Twitter? I'm like, young fuckboy. It's a joke though. It's a joke, you know. I did, and then they'll like immediately just cut things off.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just did it for the joke, but I'm too high strung to change it to something more acceptable.
It's too
Because
classic.
if I get rid of it, I'm never gonna get it back.
yeah, no, it'll be gone. Now, especially now that you've told people about
Yeah, exactly.
it on
I gotta keep it now. It's official.
Well, yeah, thanks again for coming on the show. For listeners out there, you can catch the Lords of Lore every Tuesday, our main show, and you can catch this show on Unabashed every other Friday, and sometimes even more than that. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll catch you later.
Bye.